Family, we should be back. I apologize for that. That was embarrassing. You know, I really do think it's because I tried to. Oh my God, I know that ain't happening now. I stopped it and restarted it, so I know my sound's recording. Um, I should be live. I'm gonna check to see, make sure my sound is legit. All right, Facebook legit. We're gonna check the YouTubes. YouTube legit. We good, cause with TikTok, man, let me tell you something. I can never find my live. There we go. YouTube good. And like I said, when I go on TikTok, they be like, man, you can't have your live. It ain't for you. It be embarrassing me for real, for real. See, TikTok don't love me, so it don't let me see. I appreciate your help, family. Um, yeah, let me know there was no sound because it was going crazy. Let me check on a couple of other things. Make sure they legit, not be busy. TikTok, I appreciate you again. We started. So be patient with me. I'm trying to see if TikTok give y'all a message. So once I get started, I'm gonna be focused. Again, I appreciate your patience. Had a little sound issue, and Facebook and everybody else kind of used to it because Streamlabs will go Streamlabs on me in a heartbeat and be embarrassing me in front of my friends. So you know, like a minute ago, we went live. Couldn't nobody hear me. Now people commenting on my video. All right, I gotta give people a little second to catch up because I had to stop the show and then restarted it. So, yeah. And leave a message for them so they can find it. But again, I appreciate y'all joining me. Glad to be back with you for another week. If you unfamiliar with what we do here, it is pretty much we let me catch up people. Because people trying to help me when they told me I ain't had no sound. Um, hey Kiwi, I appreciate you checking out my profile. I gotta do better with posting videos. I got a ton of content in my phone and on my computer, but it's always about finding the time to be able to do the editing. 'Cause I do a ton of it myself, you know. You know what I mean? All right, so now let's get this party started. Okay, I already did my little sound thing. I'm gonna do it one more time for y'all, just in case you missed it. This is my sound bowl to help establish the energy of. This is funny too, because one of the things I got to work on, which we're gonna talk about, is slowing down my energy. So stuff like this won't happen, but we'll talk about that a little bit. But like I said, I had a training today, so I've been using my voice a ton, and yeah, I expect this to fire off pretty easily as it did. If you're new, show's all about healing. We do live energy readings and we talk about different aspects of healing and experiences that we all might run across or share. We even do homework and things of that nature. But today, again, we're going to talk about some of the things that I've been made aware of this week as far as my energy, as far as spaces that I'm still residing in that may not be the best. And we're going to introduce that new word. Well, it's not necessarily a new word, but it's going to be an addition to our tool set on this healing journey of acceptance. So let's get the show started. All right, so this week has been, well, not even necessarily this week, but, just reviewing the last couple of weeks, doing a self assessment for the lack of better words. I definitely have came across a realization that one of the skills that I need to really be able to develop a little more is the ability to slow my spirit down. And we've discussed that a lot lately, over the last couple of weeks, in the sense that we've all been talking about working on being more present in what's happening now. You know what I mean? But in the effort to be more present, is one of the skills you have to do is be able to slow your spirit down to be able to even absorb or become aware of what's going on around you. So for me, one of the things that I've been confronted with over the last couple of weeks is developing this skill of learning to slow my spirit down. And we've discussed before relationships and how they can be reflective. As a lot of people have said before, the relationships are reflective of where you are. But we've added to that. We've added to the understanding that relationships can also be reflective of where you were, where you are, and where you would like to go in your own life. And so as I interact with people and meet new people or put myself in positions to have new experiences with different energies, I've honestly, and I think I mentioned it to you all last week, I've been meeting a lot of Pisces. And I met one specifically. If you don't know, just a reminder, I myself am a Pisces, double Pisces too, because it's my it's my sun and my rising, so I got a double dose of Pisces. So meeting Pisces allows me to do an assessment, a self assessment, because it's like holding up a mirror to myself. And I met a Pisces. One thing people say about me is I have a ton of energy. I mean, people younger than me give me, by at least 20 years, because I'm 45, at least 20 years give me credit for being way more energetic than them. Now, of course, I try to exercise and eat well, but I've always naturally been an energetic person, for a lack of better words. So, and when people would say that to me, I really had no context on what that means. Because I've worked with energetic children or I've worked with other energetic people, but no real context on what they mean as they said about me. So then I met a Pisces with that energy and it gave me a sobering perspective on what, and for any of you other high energy people, this is hopefully this can give you some context on what it's like when people interact with you. But one thing that I really realized is that how much that energy can be overwhelming to others, and I don't always recognize that. So recognizing that my energy can be overwhelming will also present me an opportunity to develop the skill of being able to slow my spirit down and hopefully reinforce the idea that we've been talking about of being present in the moment or what's happening to us now. something else that forced me to face this need to develop the skill of being able to slow myself down is I was forced to kind of recognize on how I can get caught up. And in this sense, that how we're going to talk about caught up in this context, it's more in the sense of like I can get caught up with work, being busy with work, trying to make sure when our closeout period, things started picking up. It's the end of the program year for a lot of programs, so we were getting a ton of requests. And then it's the end of our own program year, so I'm busy with that. Then working on trying to create a Tuesday night show that's developed around healing and whatever else, and other people. That's really around creating a safe space for people to communicate, discuss, and work on their own healing. You know what I mean? And a space for me to share my experiences with other people, hoping that it will resonate with someone else's spirit and they can get something out of the messages that we discuss on the evening, discuss on Tuesday evenings. And not only am I doing a Tuesday show, but I actually had the nerve to even do a Thursday show, even though it's not as intensive as the Tuesday night show, because the Tuesday night show requires a lot more work than the Thursday night show. But I also have a Thursday night show that's going on. So I'm in the middle of a new job, transitioning to closeout years, busy with client work, doing a Thursday show on top of Tuesday show, Thursday show, still doing Reiki and energy readings, and all of this going on while I'm still reserving. This is an example of how much energy I have because I still have plenty of energy to save for myself to do my own healing. You know what I mean? Because I can't put everyone else's healing in front of my ahead of mine. So my own healing, as much as I like to share and we work together as a team, I definitely do have to prioritize my own healing. But just saying all that out loud is a sober realization as of how much I got going on. That doesn't even include I left out something major. Every Monday, I still have a men's group meeting that I'm a part of, and that requires even more time. But that creates somewhat of a safe space for me to be able to release. So I definitely would suggest people find a group or join a group or find a tribe of people who are, whether you know it at the moment when you join them or not, but just follow your intuition and your spirit to find you a tribe of people that will create that safe space for you because we need it, right? So, one of the things that I had to realize, something that really helped me recognize that I'm in a space that I'm very busy, is surrounding myself with a support system who is willing to point that out for me. I have a friend that, as a matter of fact, used to be on the show all the time too, and we missed her because she has a new shift, so she doesn't get to join us as often as we'd like. But we definitely miss her. She'll probably show up on Facebook, I mean on TikTok or something on her break or something. But one thing that she would point out to me all the time is how busy I was. And it was crazy because every time that she would say that, because I spent a lot of time in the house, I didn't realize that I was that busy. It's just now I just don't work outside of the home. So most of my work takes place in the home unless I'm traveling or something like that. But her going over, I mean, when I say she tells me that all the time, I mean, oh my God, it's like a neat, 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 you're busy, you got a lot going on, to the point where I had to accept that I had to do a little assessment to see if there's some real truth in that. Because at the point of her saying it, I wasn't in the space of hearing because I was in the space of doing, right? And I'm one of those people that when I get focused, it's hard for me to stop and pause and take a breather and slow myself down until I accomplish this goal, which can easily lead to burnout. And outside of her, um, like I said last week, I really hadn't been spending a lot of time, which is crazy. It's part of slowing down, and we were talking about too, like just doing fun activities. My fun activities revolve around this. This is my fun. I be having fun doing this, doing Reiki. So this is my fun for the most part. But I need some fun outside of this, and I wound up spending a little time with my undergrad college roommate, because in grad school I ain't do no roommate for sure. But and something that he said to me gave me some perspective where I had to fully accept it. But he said something about this Tuesday night show. He said, "I see you, boy." I said, "You've been dedicated." And I had to think about it. Man, listen, family, we probably been doing this. We probably only taken 1 week off since the first week of September. We've taken no weeks off. I think we even did it during Thanksgiving week. So we've been at it as a group because some of y'all have been on every one of those episodes, and from when it was sounding like tin cans to everything, you've seen a lot of growth, and we continue to grow. But we've taken no days off, which is an example of how I can get caught up. I'm so invested in creating something. I'm so invested in sharing with my people. I'm so invested in connected to my tribe that I I haven't even recognized that I need to slow down. And the thing about it is them helping me brought awareness. And once you're aware, you can have acceptance. And something my man said in the men's group meeting on Monday night, after acceptance comes release. And that's the truth. And it's going to come up a couple of more times in our conversations. All right, glad you're here. Glad you're staying with me. Glad you came back. Sorry about the the little error. Let me check on Instagram right now because I don't know what they are doing. They think they live, but I don't think they're live at all. Like I said, I knew it. Yeah, so Instagram is out of here. Lo siento. I tried to get your family. Oh well, but TikTok, I appreciate you hanging in there. Um, I I see you, Pastor K. I ain't gonna say your real name, but I appreciate you. I see you, Liberty. I was just talking about you too. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, I appreciate you came over to TikTok. I appreciate you, but I don't see the TikTok chat. You know what? Since you might be over here, I'm gonna see if I can make my main chat TikTok, and if not, then we're just gonna keep it the way it is, and I'm gonna just talk bad about y'all or joke with y'all along the way. Let me see if this multi-stream work. Nope. Anyway, so all right, and also something, and it really is with the men's group where it created the space for me to accept this, um, be made aware of this, accept it, and provided a space for me to be able to vocalize it, which is a form of release. And something that I've been dealing with because we deal with it, period. We've talked about it before, is how we can live in spiritual spaces of fear, right? And how we've discussed it before is, you know, I've already recognized two spaces where fear is a battle for me. And we discussed it, and a lot of us can relate to that One of them was vulnerability. You know what I mean? Putting yourself in a space of vulnerability, whether it be romantic, business, whatever, just having someone else that have leverage over you, or exposing yourself to judgment is a sense of vulnerability, and that can be scary, especially after you've done work to protect yourself from things like the judgment of others. You know what I mean? And you find out on this healing path, one of the things you have to do again is open yourself back up to the judgment of others, right? And as I said, and then the other one was putting myself out there, which, this Tuesday and Thursday show and the Reiki provides a space for me to be able to exercise those skills, be able to exercise the skill of putting yourself out there. Because as a matter of fact, like we talked about, we discussed it in the men's group. Some gifts are skills you're born with, some have to be developed. So connect to people, skill I was born with, and even some of the skills you're born with, you still can fortify them or strengthen them. But the skill of putting yourself out there, the courage, the level of I don't care, I don't know what the ingredients are that takes it, but it's a certain mix of ingredients that gives you the ability or the skill set to be able to put yourself out there. And I am thankful for the opportunity to be able to exercise that skill with you all, and you all exercising the skill with me, because many of you come on here and put yourselves out there, one, by even coming on screen or coming on the live and expose yourself, put a level of vulnerability out there for the public, for the world. You allow yourself to be judged by the world, but the thing about it is, you know, you've played a hand in creating this safe space, which is why you feel safe enough to do it. And when people come into this energy, thanks to you all, you help to create the energy where they want to participate too. You know what I mean? But it is a very touchy subject. You know what I mean? And everybody approaches it at their own pace. But the thing is, we've worked together to create a space for them, to at least one space, or at least where they can see what a space like that would look like, right? So, and as I said, the men's group is another space outside of you all for myself. It allows me to dive into that masculine energy, and it provided a safe space for me to become aware of and vocalize one of my more biggest fears that I really never ever said to anyone. And as a matter of fact, I can't even say if I had not had the opportunity in that space last night that I'd even be able to share it with you all today. You know what I mean? And I guess like you said, after we said, like we said earlier, after awareness comes acceptance, and after acceptance comes release. So vocalizing it was a sense of relief to me, and it came about with we were kind of talking about something that we even talk about on this show, returning the burdens of others that were placed on us back to ourselves, back to them, whether it be families or friends. We were even discussing the ideas on how we learn manhood and how we unlearning and rewriting the contract of our manhood. And it kind of came up in my just came up in my spirit as we were having this discussion, that ever so often at this time of my life, I've never been married and I don't have children, which I say that because that's not anything I'm ashamed of. Um, but I don't have these things, right? And one compliment, if people, I've worked with children and families for a long time. So, and I interact with a lot of people. And if you meet me in the real world, or if you ever see me interact with children and families, you see me in my professional environment, I'm very good at it. And one compliment that people give me a lot, and I know they have the best intentions around this compliment, and they'll tell me, "You're going to be a good father." And it was crazy because I've gotten that for a long time. You know what I mean? And but generally when people say it to me, it's even hard in this moment to express the feelings it create. But I can say it creates a mosh posh of feelings, for a lack of better words. And I can't say what those feelings are, but I know they're not feelings that make me feel like, "Ooh, that's great." They don't make me feel good inside. Like they don't make me feel bad. They just make me feel irritated of more than anything. Like I don't want to hear that. Like you know what I mean? Like it's triggering, right? And the thing about it is, you would think on the surface, like we talked about, when you think about these things, you get that surface answer, and then you keep asking questions, and then you'll get to the deeper answer. And by that third answer, second or third, you're gonna get to the root of the problem, right? So for me, it's not triggering because I don't have those things or I haven't experienced those things. That's not even a big deal. The thing that winds up being a little trigger in me is that piece of fear that comes along with that statement, right? And I realize that the piece of fear that resides in me that comes along that statement, that compliment steps on, that triggers in me is the fear of not knowing how much of me is going to be my family and upbringing versus how much of me I actually had the opportunity to create myself. So, like, for example, we discussed this before. Most of my life has been built around trying not to be like my father, right? And then I hit that wall where genes come into play and you come to the realization that you just like them, right? And then my father had the unmitigated gall, the nerve of this man, right, to pass away. And when he passed away, I was left with this duality of feelings. It was a sense of freedom and a sense of emptiness, and it was a space of not knowing. But my father didn't die till I was, let's say 40, 39, something like that. So for 39 years of my life, I had a paradigm of what to be. Because I can just look at him and be like, I ain't going to be that. But now that he's gone, I had the space to create my own design of who I wanted to be. I ain't have to compare it to nobody else. I ain't had a burden of trying not to be. I just didn't have. I had a sense of freedom because no longer did I have that concern. And it was the first time in my life that I came to the realization of how much of my life I didn't even design. I designed it based on other people's wants, other people's needs, what other people thought I should do. You know what I mean? So when people say that, it just kinds to triggers a certain level of fear because there are aspects of parenting that you experienced as a child that when you become a parent, you don't want to do to your children. And then there's that moment that most parents face when they realize, I'm sorry, Twitch man, I don't know what that is. Doesn't necessarily look like Spanish. So habla a little Espanol, but I appreciate you stopping by. But English solamente. I hope you're not cursing. Okay, appreciate it. You can laugh. I don't know what you're saying, bro. Sí, yes, ingleso. Please. Thank you. Thank you, Twitch. See, family, we get people from everywhere. And the family who's on here often, they know we have fun with Twitch sometimes. We got rated on Twitch. But back to, that fear resides of not knowing. Well, that parent winds up hitting that wall where they realize how much. Oh no, I definitely could tell it's not Spanish. Thank you. I was looking at it, I was like, that's definitely not Spanish. Definitely. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I don't know. Portuguese? I don't know. It looks like a mixture of languages, so I can't say. So if somebody in the chat, y'all know what that is, help a man out. You know what I mean? But parents wind up hitting that wall, that space, where they realize that they're doing things just like their mother or father. And that's a tough space to be in. And that's a weird feel to have. And especially, it's more understanding if you were one of those children that may have experienced certain harshnesses of childhood that you really don't think you deserve, and you don't know if you'll pass that on. So sometimes it's a unfounded fear, but no less a fear itself. And the wild thing about that is, and that's not to say that I think my parents were bad. I very much think that they did the best that they could based on their own life and their own. I appreciate you using the British imperialism language. So thanks. You tell me what language that is. I'm gonna get on my Duolingo, and for the next couple of shows, I'll make sure I update you on what I'm what I'm learning on Duolingo. Cause I only took Spanish, so I know a little Spanish, and I took Yoruba. But please don't talk to me in Yoruba, because the only thing that I know from Yoruba is Mogobo Yoruba, and that's do you speak Yoruba? So if you tell me yes, short. I don't know what to tell you. And after that, I know Ferme la bouche and sprechen die Deutsch. So I know how to tell you shut up in a bunch of languages. But outside of English, I'm probably the most fluent in Spanish. And I took a lot of years of that. Yeah. So, like I was saying, it's not to say that my parents were bad, but that is appreciate that, family. Appreciate that. That is to say that I just want to be different. Polish. There we go. All right. So I'm gonna add Polish to my Duolingo so I can start communicating somewhat with you. You know what I mean? At least learn some basic greetings. I'll put that on my to-do list for real, family. It's that simple. Um, when you do things like this, you never know who you're gonna come in contact with. And being able to speak multiple languages only enhances your skills, right? So I appreciate it, and I will do some work on it, brother. Do, 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 do. And the funny thing about that fear, having to accept it, I understand that it extends to my wife, right? In the sense that in my family, I've seen the women that the men choose to marry get treated very differently women have very interesting ideas of women. And interestingly enough, when women care about the sons or the nephews or the boys, the uncles in their life, they can become very protective and be hard on women. And I think I've discussed this on the show before on how I had a little conflict on trying to support my brother's wife in a conflict in the family. But a real life fear, what she had to endure, I definitely wouldn't want my wife to have to endure. Like she can't even come to family functions. And I don't want to experience that lack of respect for the choices that I made in my life from anybody, nor would I ask my woman to endure that. So I think that's also why I'm in a place of separation. So I can create and draw them boundaries where I can be confident to release these fears. No doubt. I like learning, man. I'm a super nerd. So I wouldn't just necessarily do it on the face value of you, but I would do it because one thing that we talk about on this show is recognizing the signs and opportunities. And I don't think it's no coincidence that you came in. I mean, you might be, if for you, it might have been, something that you do regularly. But for me, I take it as a sign, as a new avenue that I need to develop skills in. All right, so next thing we're gonna talk about is this idea of acceptance. Let me check on TikTok. I actually did a bunch of stuff for y'all, man. I took it back to the beginning. Man, listen, I don't know if you still on there, Liberty, but that is tough. As a matter of fact, I even had to ask someone that I was doing Reiki on as they talked about their mother and their lives. I had to ask them, do you feel ashamed that your life you followed in your mother's footsteps, right? Or you followed in your father's footsteps? And that is tough. That is a tough realization that genes are a strong indicator. I appreciate your gifts. I appreciate your likes. TikTok, y'all doing me well. Sherry, I told Toddy what I said about you. And I told her that you said you was gonna throw pollen in her eyes. But for some reason, Sherry, she ain't believe me either. Y'all got something going on with this not wanting to believe me. Well, of course she ain't say that. I told her what you really did say. She know more likely than what you said. She probably somewhere stalking and not commenting like she normally does. Now listen. I don't know if I can give you 6 months now. Listen, but I'll at least be able to ask you, how are you doing? I can be able to tell you how I'm doing. I'll be able to tell you something. So you give me 6 months, I'll bet you I know more, a lot more than I know now. And me, let me tell you something. I play sports. I'm a competitive by nature, so I like a good challenge, especially if the challenge grows me. So I appreciate that, brother. All right. So the next thing, man, listen. So then you understand that, hey, as a son, realizing that you just like your father, that was a tough thing for me too. Because one thing that I had to come to terms with, my father loved the women, and I love women as well. So I definitely had to spend time being able to manage that and get to the root of where that come from. And what I learned about my pops, one of the reasons why he was like that is because he was very emotionally unavailable. And when it came time to fully invest emotions, he was good at dipping. You know what I mean? So instead of staying and dealing with the impact of his choices and things like that, it was easier to find comfort in another space. And he learned very quickly, which I was able to learn vicariously through watching his life, that there is no comfort when you're running from yourself, period. So, and I'm glad that he lived the life that he did, because he lived as an example for me to, as a matter of fact, he laid the path for me to be able to have the opportunity to do what he couldn't do. You know what I mean? And that's work on healing myself. You know what I mean? And hopefully I create a foundation for people who follow after me that they can do a little bit better. Cause I'm telling you, I ain't gonna be perfect. I'm gonna be edgy. I'm gonna be a lot of things for a while. But you know, as a family, we're gonna work on some of these things. Um, no, that's what the good thing. My pops wasn't a terrible person. He was very emotional. And as a matter of fact, the good thing we talking about acceptance, because a little bit later we'll discuss this. He was very emotional and he could not accept that about himself. And if he was able to accept that, he made a lot of decisions on emotions and he just did a lot of emotional things. You know what I mean? And that was because he vowed to never be like what he saw growing up. So he just made a bunch of emotional things. He had a good heart. He keyed his shirt off your back. He was in the military. He believed in fighting for his country. You know what I mean? As wild as he was, even though he couldn't stay in the family, he actually believed in the family. In the later years of his life, he was able to even have a family, even though I wasn't able to experience that with him as my father. He was able to experience that in his own life, which shows the arc of his own development. You know what I mean? And again, him living that life of not being able to accept how emotional he was made it easier for me to recognize I'm just like him, and made it a little bit easier for me to accept how emotional I am. So I do got a little, I went a little deep this time. I think I got some a little bit of everything for y'all. So we're gonna talk about acceptance a little bit. I'm gonna get off. Hold on, let me get my life together. Um we're gonna bring the definition of acceptance in so that we can make sure we all are working on the same definition of acceptance. And let me see. Cancel. Let me get it up, family. I appreciate your patience. Technology be doing me. Now listen, I done did this whole thing 1,000 times before I specifically tried to make sure that it would work. Get my keyboard, and we're gonna take this thing to school for a second. All right. Come on now. Okay, so no, we don't want to see that. I got that new camera, and surprisingly, it lets me do. There we go. That's what we want to see. All right. So we got this idea of acceptance, and to make sure that we're all working on the same definition, I went ahead and made it a little bit easy for us so we can discuss acceptance. And acceptance in our context and in the stake for us is the quality or state of being accepted or acceptable, the act of accepting someone or something, the fact of being accepted or approval, which we've discussed, putting yourself in a position to be approved by other people. So I'm telling you, new camera, I can do hand claps and all types of weird stuff. Excuse me, on the screen. 3, in the context of the law, acceptance is an agreeing, either expressly or by conduct, to the act or offer of another, so that a contract is concluded and the parties become legally bound. As an agreement, for the most part, when you accept a contract, you're legally bound. And 4, the act of accepting a time draft or bill of exchange for payment when due according to the specified time or terms. So for us, we're going to use definition 1, the quality, and definition 2, or state of being accepted or acceptable, and the act of accepting something or someone. The fact of being accepted is approval. So think about that. That's how we're moving in the idea of acceptance, right? Something that brought this acceptance thing to me is it's been somewhat of like a common theme in my Reiki sessions when I'm working with people. Um, I do spend a lot of time helping them come to terms with things and come to a place of acceptance. So I repeat this all the time to everyone else. So it would make sense that time put me in a position where I would have to exercise the skill and model the exercising of this skill for the family. And some of the things that I'm doing to help me process my emotions as it comes to acceptance, and how I'm recognizing that I'm processing emotions of acceptance, is I had a dream the other night, last night, as a matter of fact, which was crazy because it came right after the conversation, after the men's group, had the men's group conversation. And later that night, I go to sleep. And I don't remember much of the dream, but I do remember I wound up seeing my mom. And I remember her coming to me and asking me, well, what is this all about? And I remember just being in a place where I'm saying every issue I ever had, right? And the thing about that is I know that more than likely an opportunity like that won't come in life. And but I still need to create this opportunity or a place for me to be able to release these thoughts and emotions. And one place that wound up being a place outside of the men's group, which we talked about, is in my dreams. And I really do pay attention to dreams, and I think you do sometimes because they really do wind up being mirrors of how you process in your waking life and your feelings. And I do got a lot of feelings around the conflict that I'm facing within my family now. But I woke up this morning feeling a little bit better because it felt like for the first time I got them all out. And I think it was perfect timing because I'm in this place of working on acceptance, right? And I really do realize that if we as people or as a group or as a soul family or however we want to label ourselves in this moment, as we slow down to be present in the moment, if we can master this skill of acceptance, imagine how much freer you could be. Because the only thing you can really control in life is yourself. You can't even control the responses. Only thing that you know is going to be equal. But that doesn't mean it's going to be the same. That doesn't mean it's going to be deserving. It's just going to be an equal and opposite reaction, what they taught us. And the thing about that, with that freedom, like my man said, after the acceptance come release. And if we can master acceptance, we wind up getting a sense of freedom, right? And outside of dreams, I am a scientist by nature and a teacher by heart. So I also um, like to do nerd stuff like research. And a couple of things that I learned that I want to share with y'all outside of the definition is 5 things everyone should accept about. Oh, let me make sure we still. Hold on. Let me go back, family. See what's happening. All right. So 5 things everyone should know about acceptance. I had to make sure all the comments disappeared for a second, bro. I don't know what I did. I messed something up. So Twitch man, I appreciate your family. Hope you come back. Yeah, we was having a good time. Let me check to see these comments again real quick before we move on, because never mind. We're gonna do these 5 things before we move on. TikTok, I'll be back with you. Now I check and I catch up. So 5 things we all should understand and know about acceptance. And I got this from Megan Burnell. So one is accepting does not mean liking, wanting, choosing, or supporting whatever you are accepting. And I think that's one of the internal conflicts that many of us have with this idea of acceptance that makes it difficult for us to exercise that skill of acceptance because we're more concerned on what it presents or what it may convey. And it may convey that you like it, you want it, or you're in support of it. A lot of people think silence is agreeing, but it's not. It doesn't mean that. It means you accepted the amount of control that you have over the situation. And it's that simple. Number 2, acceptance is an active process. It must be practiced. And that is why I refer to acceptance, grace, forgiving. All of those things are skills. They're not just words, they are active processes. And they must be practiced. And once we realize that, life will present numerous opportunities for us to be able to practice these skills. We just have to recognize that they're skills that we need to practice and develop. Number 3, acceptance does not mean you cannot work on changing things. Does not mean you cannot work on changing things. So one thing that I've accepted is, for me, and it may not seem like that to you all, weight has been a challenge in my life, period. You know what I mean? And it's funny the way if you ever have a conversation with me, the way I talk about weight is very interesting. And people look at me as though maybe I never really had weight issues. But to be able to look like you don't have weight issues comes with a lot of work. Like something. But anyway, it comes with a lot of work. So as a kid, I used to shop in the Husky section. And Husky, I don't even think Husky exists anymore. I haven't even seen that clothing section, and I don't even know how long. But it was for the chubby kids. And it was wild because as a little kid, I was still shaped like this, but I just got huge legs and I can definitely get a pot belly. My biology teacher told me, like, you have the predisposition to have a big stomach. So I always work on that. And at my bigness, I weighed 220 pounds. And that was a lot of weight for me. And I worked to get back down when I, as compared to my high school weight was 150. And my max, I was 220. And at 5'8", that's huge. Then I worked to get down to 185, 183. And then I went back up to 190. Life be a thing. So for me, weight is an up and down battle. And I've accepted that it is. So I don't feel too bad if I gain a couple pounds or if life starts getting at me and I can't stay as consistent because I understand that I accept where I am at this moment. Doesn't mean that I have to stay there. And at a new moment, I'll be in position to do what I like to do, which is maintain exercise and a healthy weight. So acceptance doesn't mean that you can't work on it. You can. Or I accept that I got fear. I got to work on that. Acceptance does not mean that you cannot work on it. Number 4, acceptance does not mean you're accepting it's going to be that way forever. It does not mean that you're accepting that it's going to be that way forever. It doesn't rain forever. But with that being said, I do think you need to use discernment to recognize even though it may not be forever, you may have a boundary or a time where you need to leave before whatever you accepting changes. So do not wait. There's no obligation for you to stay in a situation or hold on to a mindset or a thought pattern, hoping that it would change in some time. No, you accept it for what it is, and you accept that it may not be that way forever, but still have your own boundaries so you won't be there for the whole process if it's not yours to be there for. And number 5, we can practice acceptance towards our experience, people, appearance, like the example I just gave, emotions, ideas, and more. And funny, because I gave acceptance for our emotions. When I was talking to the Twitch guy, talking about how I'm going to always be a little edgy, because that's something about me that I have accepted. But knowing that about myself does not mean that I also don't take the time to develop those skills, because I do. Knowing that about myself is only one part of the show. And I do know that it isn't always an easy thing to deal with. So, all right, y'all want to see something interesting? So when I'm live, y'all gonna see something. This is what some of the background looks like. So now you get to see what I see. Thank you, Liberty. So now you get to see when I'm looking at TikTok chat. You the only one still on there. Trio, thanks for joining. Carlos, I appreciate you being there. Yeah, likes, follows, I appreciate it all. So we're gonna move on to the next thing. So the next thing I got is, like I said, something that helps me feel a little better when I'm facing these type of things, or processing emotions, and how I'm working on acceptance is research. I'm a nerd by heart. So we did the definition. We learned 5 things that anybody who's working on acceptance should know. And lastly, we're going to watch a video. Terrence, appreciate you, black man. Glad to have you in here again. Bro, we continuing. We talking about acceptance, man. So I went a little deeper from my conversation. If y'all don't know, my man Terrence is another brothers from the men's group that I talk about, Strength and Brotherhood. Look us up on Facebook, join the men's group, and we'll add you to the chat. You can join the Zoom and all that good stuff. But here's another brother up there, so he bear witness that we were talking about acceptance in some context. So, man, I just took it a little further because it's been important in my life, brother. So, appreciate you. We're about to watch a video on how to practice acceptance. Give me a second.
Today we're going to tackle one of the most talked about and sought after spiritual practices in the world, and that's accepting what is. And so I'm going to show you with these 5 easy steps on how to gain a little bit of control of the situation when you're feeling a little bit fragmented and a little bit confused in what's happening around you. So first step number 1, is becoming aware of exactly where you're at. Now, if
I would say
chaos is ensuing around you, you just want to just pause for that moment and just observe exactly what's happening in your.
I would say if you got a pen and a piece of paper somewhere near you, take some time and write down the words that kind of resonate to your spirit, or kind of just pop out to you that he's talking about. Because what you'll wind up doing is creating the words of affirmations to help you exercise the skill of acceptance. So again, if you got a pen and paper, take some time and write down the words that kind of stick out to you, resonate with your spirit.
Your environment. Just take an inventory to see what's around you. The sights, the smells, the noises. Just take a real inventory of that. In step 2, you're going to just breathe into the discomfort. So because there's some chaos, you're breathing into it. And oftentimes I'll just put my hands on my chest and take a breath in to experience with more ease what's happening. Because under chaos, our bodies naturally tighten and contract. So we want to help to open the system up in that moment. If we don't, then we're going to be running more of the stress response in our body, and we're not going to actually feel any type of ease or grace in that moment of chaos. So when it's chaotic, you're breathing into that moment and just really feeling some of the challenge that we're experiencing. The third is to hypersensitize your awareness. So as I'm breathing into what's happening around me, I'm actually going to now become and hypersensitize my visual centers, my hearing. I'm just going to listen for every sight and sound that I can possibly grab hold of, and that's bringing me fully present. So the more present I can be with everything that's around me is going to allow me to experience more ease in that moment. The fourth is to, once you have a little bit of breathing room in there, the fourth is going to be to ask, what's really going on here? Because you were just about to maybe start an argument or go off the wall or you know, go into a rage or a fit of rage. And so in step 4, after you've taken that breath and hypersensitized your awareness in your present moment, ask yourself, what's really going on here? And when you ask that question, you're forcing the frontal lobe of your brain, the most evolved part of our brain, to actually kick into gear. And so once you do that,
what if you could upload one mini AI-written ebook onto Amazon that could replace your income and change your life forever? Let me show you how to do exactly this in the next 90 seconds.
Embarrass me, right?
You're going to be instantly more resourceful in that moment.
No thanks.
So the fourth step is ask what's really going on.
YouTube,
and the fifth
technology
step is then also to see what are the benefits to my distress. So the fifth is what are the benefits?
Wow.
So I'm feeling this chaos. This chaos is ensuing around me. I'm breathing into it. I'm curious as to what's really going on. And now I engage in what are the benefits to this? Well, maybe the benefits are I get a moment to calm down. Maybe the benefits to that moment are I get to actually remember what it's like to be carefree and run around the house with no expectations that I'm supposed to be quiet and I just ramble on like a kid does, or whatever that thing is for you. There's going to be a set of benefits in there that you can experience in that moment of experiencing the chaos. Maybe it's actually forcing you to draw upon a new resource of energy that forces you to access maybe some peace and ease, which you don't normally do. So there are benefits to you. That's step 5, is finding and discovering what those benefits are to you. So let's recap. The first is, there's chaos around you. So what do? Well, when there's chaos around, number 1, we become aware of exactly where we're at, what's going on. Number 2 is we breathe into the discomfort and actually feel our discomfort. Feel how tight we're getting in that moment. The third is to hypersensitize our awareness. So let's really become present with the sights and sounds and smells and everything around us. So we're not trying to avoid it, but we're trying to hypersensitize our awareness. The fourth is to ask what's really going on, access that curiosity. And number 5 is, what are the benefits to my distress? What's going on and what are the benefits for me in this? Hey, and if you're anything like me, 5 steps can be really overwhelming. So here's what I want you to do. Commit to one of those steps and just write below which step that you're actually going to be committing to, and just to help you to get on your way. I'm Dr. Steve, and if you want any more information, just head on over to stevenfonso.com.
Many spiritual and religious traditions talk about the human tendency to spend too much time outside the...
When I'm trying to learn something new or exercise a new skill, one of the more important things for me to do is to learn more about that skill. And learning more about that skill helps me feel comfortable in exercising the skill, because now I know I've taken time to work on the skill and, as a matter of fact, create a stable foundation or a stronger foundation that revolves around facts and knowledge. So, family, I appreciate you being with me again. I appreciate you staying with us through the internet is, oh, word. You know what? Facebox is extra slow. So yeah, so I figured TikTok will probably be the fastest. Instagram is, yeah, I don't know. I don't get to see my TikTok videos, so I have no idea. But I do know that YouTube is ultra delayed. Facebook is ultra delayed. And and TikTok ain't ultra delayed, surprisingly, but they just missed the party tonight. Lo siento. They were a victim of the reset. Yeah, so oh well. I'll see them next week. But again, I appreciate you. Remember those 5 things everybody need to know about acceptance. Try to exercise your skills of acceptance, whether it be on an emotion, on a person, or on yourself. Then make sure you exercise that skill of acceptance, and make sure that you're still taking time to become aware of your triggers and the things that may present fear in your spirit or create the emotion fear, or some of the things that fear in your life is still connected to. Me too, Liberty. You hadn't been able to connect that many, so I'm glad you can join this time in your comments. And we got a couple more likes this time too, so we slowly moving up a like at a time. And I think I got a couple followers. I don't know. I'll check at the once I close it, it'll be like, this what happened. So yeah, but like I was saying, make sure you stay aware of those spaces of fear that you still might be working on, and go a little deeper. And lastly, make sure you're taking time to slow down. As you hear, this is an active effort of me trying to actively slow down, because normally I'm on here like, I'm telling songs, I'm tripping hard, but try to be present in the moment and slowing down a little bit. This is an active exercise for me right now. So, but I appreciate you, family, and hopefully we can see you Thursday as we continue reading before I let go. If not, I'll be happy to have you back here on Tuesday with live readings and more. And I hope that you have a great week. And of course, happy Juneteenth to my people. Until Thursday, have a good one, family.